It's really hard to know what to do, where to begin. Again, the fantasy in modern culture is so entrenched and so deep, particularly in Western culture. It got to a point in my work where I was like, okay, God. Okay. It has been rather agony being kicked out of everywhere, smeared upon, slandered for well over a decade. That's all been hard, but I've survived it through my relationship with you. What do I do now? And after a bit, God told me to get back online on YouTube and keep talking. And I'm like, all they care about are the amount of subs that you have. If they can't visually quickly see that you have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, they don't want anything to do with you. Okay, I don't have any. That's not an attack. That's not an attack on my value system. I don't care. Okay, but then you add to it that I know that I've had shadow banning bots on me for years. I know that. But everyone's so entrenched in a fantasy, I can't even really say that without being questioned. People are stuck in a loop of pleasure that they get out of torturing themselves in a fantasy. It seems to me that there are a lot of other people who could use my help, who aren't as entrenched in fantasy. In around the world, in North America, in other countries. Seems to me that there are other people that could use my help. But I'm told that I need to get back on YouTube, and I need to find a way to reach the people, particularly my age and younger, who are online, particularly in the modern West. And the reason is because the next wave of cataclysmic change is coming. And those people who don't have as much opportunity, don't have as much freedom, that haven't been as comfortable for so long, for generations, or people who have had an obligation to a tradition that is old, that keeps them grounded. Okay, which is most of the world, still. It's just that the modern West has a monopoly on the influencer, the online influencer culture. Those people are going to be okay in the long run. Yeah, of course. There are problems that they are facing, that we are facing all the time. But they're not going to break. People in comfortable Western modern situations barely survived the whole COVID catastrophe. Barely freaking survived. Some of them haven't been able to get up off their face since that happened. There's been a lot of suicides, attempted suicides that I've heard of. People close to me. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And all you people who are online, who many of you kicked me out of everywhere, tried to gouge my eyes out with your words and your toxic slander. Where are you going to be? A lot of you, I even know where you're at. Directly and indirectly, I know where you're at. You're nowhere. You're worse than nowhere. You're so entrenched in misery that you keep getting more entrenched in fantasy. Then you get more entrenched in misery. But I am told in prayer that I need to get online, that I need to keep talking, to try and reach you. Because you are the ones that are going to smash to smithereens if you aren't ready for the next, if you don't have some give. Because of your fantasy. Because of your very, very shallow, materialistic way of looking at things. You are going to shatter into a million pieces when the next wave of change comes. You need to have some give, acceptance for reality. That everything changes. The only constant is what the ancients have come to call God, who is love. Unconditional love. That's God. It's unconditional love. That's the only unchanging force. Otherwise, everything else changes. You understand? Everything else changes. You need to learn to sense at the very least, and this is only a beginning, but you need to learn to sense at the very least with your intuition about people, especially people, about situations, about people that you watch online, about trends, fads. You need to cultivate a trust in the intuition, first and foremost. It is a force that is you but is greater than you. You need to learn that trust. Without that trust, you're just going to get all wound up in all these modern distractions that only end up mentally torturing you because you're trying to find a constant in things that always change. And you reject the constant that is your true heart, that is your intuition. You reject that, you bury that, you distrust that, you attack that. You attack that in yourself and you attack that in other people. Because you're so wrapped up in what you visually perceive. Usually online. If you can't learn to see past that, if you can't learn to trust the intuition, if you can't learn to live without the virtual world, if you cannot learn to have quiet within yourself, then you're not going to be able to survive. You're going to feel the despair that you are cultivating in yourself by rejecting the intuition. You're going to feel that despair all at once when the next wave of change comes. And when you feel that despair all at once, it seems like There's been, for a while now, this trend of attempted suicide, severe depression, heavily medicated people. I don't know how I'm going to reach you exactly, but I am told in prayer that it is possible and that I need to keep trying. Even after all this time and all the efforts that I've made that were basically shat on. Spat on, shat on by some of my closest friends and relatives. But I need to try and reach you, I am told.